In this lesson, we will explore and learn how to use different modes and views for the activity browser. Make sure that you have selected the S5 Diagnostics tab. Now, select the ribbon header for Initial Plan. In the top menu, you will note that there is an Activity Browser Modes group. From this menu, you can display the following views. Tabular View, this is the default. Heat Map View, Detailed View, Gantt Chart View, or Scorecard View. You can undock the Activity Browser window if you wish. Click the Undock button to the right of this group and a separate Activity Browser window will open. The metric name and project name will be displayed at the top of this window. Here you will see all of the Activity Browser views. You can also copy Activity Browser activities to the clipboard or export them to an Excel file. Click Close to redock this window. Let's look at the tabular view first. This is the default view and has a similar tabular look as the flat view in the S1 projects. All of the data in the Activity Browser will be sorted and grouped as per your requirements and settings. Now we'll have a look at the heat map view. The heat map mode provides us with a powerful visual aid to assist us in reporting results. When you view your heat map, you'll see that the display will show a number of different colored boxes. The relative size and color of the boxes will distinguish the various attributes of the activities. So you'll get a good idea on which activities you should focus your attention. The number of activities displayed in your heat map can be defined from the heat map pull-down. So select Initial Plan and confirm that its activities appear in the Activity Browser. Then click the Heat Map button in the top menu. You'll see the new view in the Activity Browser. In this view, size represents original duration and color represents remaining duration. Now click on the Heat Map pull-down. Most likely, as a default, you'll see that size represents original duration and color represents remaining duration. If you hover your mouse over either of these parameters, a list will open where you can select from a wide range of parameters. For now, leave them as original duration for size and remaining duration for color. Next, you can choose how you want your color scale to be displayed. Let's set it as green to red. Now hover your mouse over Group Activities By, and you'll see a list where you can group activities in many ways. Click on an activity to select it. You'll see the changes in the Activity Browser. To deselect it, click the activity again. Lastly, in the pull-down, we have a number of options for filtering our activities by activity type, activity status, criticality, or top to bottom rules, i.e. top 10 activities, etc. So, for activity type, select normal. For activity status, make sure that all options are selected. For criticality, make sure that both options are selected, and for top to bottom rules, select top 10 activities. Let's go through a heat map example. Make sure that your sample workbook is open. You can click on the fuse icon in the top left and find it under Recent Workbooks. Select the S5 Diagnostics tab to view the project ribbons. Then select the header for current schedule and click the Fuse button to view the analysis. In the Ribbon Analyzer, click on the cell for critical for the current schedule. The 21 critical activities will be displayed in the Activity Browser heat map. Undock the Activity Browser by clicking the Undock button. From the heat map pull-down in the undocked window, set Size represents to remaining duration. Set Color to remaining work. Set Color Scale to green to red. Then click the Heat Map button in the undocked Activity Browser window. So which critical activity has the most remaining duration and remaining work? This is represented by the highest temperature, which is red. So the answer is activity 0570, first wave. Next, which are the next two highest critical activities? They're represented by the next highest temperatures, olive green and brown. The answer? Activities 0580 followed by 0600. So now we know which activities we should focus our attention on. Close the undocked activity browser window. Click on the home icon and select projects to reset the ribbons. Click Fuse. Next, we'll look at the detailed view. Select the initial plan to show its data in the activity browser. In the activity browser modes group, click the detailed button. In the activity browser, you'll note that it has two panes. The left pane shows a list of all activities in the analysis, whereas the right pane gives us more details for each activity. Note that the left pane has a pink area at the bottom, where we can carry out a fuzzy logic search. Click on Activity 0130, Competitive Analysis, in the left pane. In the right pane, you'll see the corresponding details by field and value for Activity 0130. Additionally, you should note that when you click on any activity, the corresponding activity will be identified in the project ribbon. Click on Activity 0230, Electrical Design, and you will see it in the Initial Plan ribbon. Click on the Home icon and select Projects to reset the ribbons. Now let's look at the Gantt chart view. Make sure that you have selected the initial plan and that the activities are visible in the activity browser. Then click on the Gantt chart view. The Gantt chart view displays time-phased activities in Gantt chart format in the activity browser and in flat format on the ribbon. This view is useful for identifying activities by phase on the timeline. For example, in the ribbon analyzer, click on the cell for critical activities for the initial plan. You'll see the Gantt chart for the 25 critical activities. These critical activities will be also identified in the initial plan ribbon. Now click in the cell for number of leads for initial plan. Now you will see the 5 activities on the ribbon and Gantt chart, 2 critical and 3 normal activities. Click on the Home icon and select Projects to reset the ribbons, then click Fuse. Now we're going to move on to the scorecard view. Make sure that you have selected the initial plan and that the activities are visible in the activity browser. Then click on the scorecard view. In this view, activities are evaluated against each metric for the selected metric library. Each activity will have a score for each metric category, as well as an overall score. Scoring for each metric is displayed by a green check to show that a task has passed all criteria, or a red exclamation to show that something has failed. For example, if you look at the metric for missing logic for project start, you'll note that it is red and has failed. We will immediately know that the reason for this is because project start has no predecessor and is therefore missing some logic. Its overall score is 82%. Return to the tabular view by clicking the tabular button in the top menu. Then exclude project start, then select the scorecard button again. Now look at the scorecard view for initial plan. You'll see that the project start is now green and that the total score is 100%. Now, in the scorecard, let's look at the critical metric for bid A review. It is blue, meaning that bid A review is critical. You'll note that missing logic and negative float have failed and its score is only 64%. A blue colored metric indicates true, whereas 0 color means false. So only those tasks that pass all criteria will have a positive influence on the overall score when you use record-based scoring. A task must be improved in all red areas and the score 100% in order to influence the overall score positively. Click on the Home icon and select Projects to reset the ribbons. Then select the Acumen Fuse icon and close the workbook. Do not save the workbook. Now let's go through a scorecard example using My Workbook. Click the Fuse icon on the top left of the workspace. From the list of recent workbooks, select My Workbook. Once My Workbook has opened, click the S2 Diagnostics tab. Then click the Fuse button to view the analysis for all the open projects. Now select the initial plan and confirm that the activities are displayed in the activity browser, as well as the ribbon. In the ribbon analyzer, click on the cell for number of leads, and you will see that 5 activities are identified in the activity browser. Undock the activity browser and click on the scorecard view in the undocked activity browser window. Now sort the scores from lowest to highest by clicking on the score header. Across the scorecard, you'll see all of the activities where their metric has failed, starting from the lowest score. At the high end of the window, all of the scores will be 100% and all metrics would have passed. This is just a general example to illustrate the use of the scorecard view. Click Close to close the undocked window. Then select the Fuse icon on the top left and close the workbook. Don't bother to save it. In the next lesson, we will go through the steps for logic trace analysis. Now we're going to move on to the logic trace analysis function. Click the Fuse icon on the top left of the workspace. From the list of recent workbooks, select Sample Workbook. All of the linked files for Sample Workbook will be loaded into Acumen Fuse. We have the project file for initial plan and 2 snapshots for 6-month update and current schedule. Now select the S2 Diagnostics tab and look at the interface window that opens. Then click the Fuse button to view the data. Now, logic trace analysis traces the paths of activities to and from a given activity. For example, all activity paths leading into a given milestone or activity, or all activities on the path from an activity or milestone. So when we use logic trace analysis, we can identify the simplest path, identify the network path between 2 selected activities, identify driving logic versus non-driving logic, and identify paths to accelerate a project. On the top menu, you'll see the Logic Trace button. The Trace button pull-down has 5 options. Trace Forward traces logic forward and starting from the selected activity. Trace Backward traces logic backwards, starting from the selected activity. Trace Forward and Backwards traces logic forward and backward, starting from the selected activity. Trace Path traces the paths between any 2 given activities. It traces the logic from a starting activity until reaching the finishing activity. Driving Logic Only analyzes only those paths that are driving the schedule through to completion. This allows you to pinpoint the key activities in a schedule. Now note that by default the logic trace runs in Driving Logic Only mode. Let's see how the different trace modes work. Isolate the current schedule ribbon by double-clicking on its header. Then click on the header for the current schedule ribbon. You will note that all the activities for current schedule will appear in the activity browser pane. Firstly, we'll look at Trace Forward with the driving logic selected. In the activity browser, select Activity 0180, Technical Review. Then in the top menu, from the Logic Trace pull-down, make sure that Driving Logic Only is selected. Then again, from the pull-down, select Trace Forward. Now, if you look at the activity browser pane again, click on the activity just below 0180, Technical Review. You'll see that technical review is highlighted in orange. Then, if you look up in the ribbon viewer, you'll see that the first activity in the logic trace is orange in color, and this tells us that we have selected driving logic only. This first activity is technical review. In the activity browser, you'll see that the total number of activities selected in the logic trace is 48. Now let's deselect driving logic only. So from the logic trace pull down, deselect driving logic only. You'll see that the color of technical review in the ribbon viewer is now green, and that tells us that non-driving logic is selected. In the activity browser, you'll see that the total number of activities selected in the logic trace is now 49. Deselect the logic trace button in the top menu and click on current schedule again to view the activities in the activity browser. All 55 activities will now appear in the activity browser pane. Next, we'll look at trace backwards. This time, select 0160 bid-B review in the activity browser. Make sure that driving logic only is selected from the logic trace drop-down. Now this time, select trace backwards from the activity browser buttons. Click on the activity just above bid-B review. You'll see that the bid-B review is highlighted in orange, with the driving predecessors listed above it. The bid-B review will also be visible in the ribbons viewer. Again, if you look up in the ribbon viewer, you'll see that the last activity in the logic trace is orange in color, and this tells us that we have selected driving logic only. This last activity is bid-B review. In the activity browser, you'll see that the total number of activities selected in the logic trace is 3. Now, let's deselect driving logic only again. In the ribbons pane, you'll note that the activity for bid-B review has changed to green, telling us that driving logic is not selected. If you look at the activity browser, you'll see that, in this case, the number of activities remains at 3 activities. Deselect the trace button and click on current schedule again to view the activities in the activity browser. Next, we'll move on to trace forwards or backwards. Select activity 0670, Telecoms Design from the activity browser. Make sure that driving logic only is selected from the logic trace drop-down. Then select the trace forward backwards button in the activity browser pane. In the activity browser, click on the activity just below Telecoms Design. You'll see that Telecoms Design is highlighted in orange in the activity browser, with its predecessors and successors. In the ribbon viewer, Telecoms Design will be colored orange. If you look at the activity browser, you'll see that 48 activities are selected in the logic trace. Scroll the activity browser up to the top and you'll see that Telecoms Design has 2 predecessors. Therefore, it will have 45 successors. If you deselect driving logic only in the logic trace pull-down, Telecoms will be green in color in the ribbons pane, and you'll see that 49 activities are selected in both the ribbons pane and activity browser. Deselect the trace button and click on current schedule again to view the activities in the activity browser. Lastly, we will look at trace path. We're going to trace the path between activity 0230, electrical design, and 0650, internal precoms. Make sure that you have isolated current schedule and that all 55 activities are visible in the activity browser. Here is an extremely important tip. If you do not first make sure that the activities are visible in the activity browser, the trace path option will not work properly. In my experience, I sometimes have found out that my computer hangs and that I have to close Acumen Fuse completely. So make sure that you have selected the current schedule header. Now, from the drop-down, make sure that driving logic only is selected. Then select Trace Path. A new window will open with a pane for starting activity on the left and finishing activity on the right. At the top of each pane, we can choose activity type, status, or critical. For now, leave the window with its default settings. You can always experiment later. In the left-hand pane, select 0230 electrical. Then in the right pane, select 0650 internal precoms. Then click OK, and the tracing path will be displayed in the activity browser. All the activities on the trace path will be identified, and the start and finish activities will be colored orange in the ribbon viewer. You can zoom into the different phases if you wish to view the start and finish activities more clearly. Deselect the Logic Trace button, then click on the Home icon. Make sure that the Projects button is selected to reset the ribbons. Then select the Fuse icon on the top left and close the workbook. Don't bother to save it. In the next lesson, we will learn how to add or create ribbon metric views. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to add and create ribbon views. We will create a new ribbon view and add metrics to it. Click the Fuse icon on the top left of the workspace. From the list of recent workbooks, select Sample Workbook. All of the linked files for Sample Workbook will be loaded into Acumen Fuse. We have the project file for initial plan and 2 snapshots for 6-month update and current schedule. Now select the S2 Diagnostics tab and look at the interface window that opens. Click the Fuse button to view the data. If you look at the Ribbon Views pane across the bottom of the workspace, there are a number of ribbon views that are listed. The default ribbon view is Schedule Quality. These views can be edited for our own particular use, but we also have the option of creating our own custom view that can be added to the Ribbon Views library. At the end of the Ribbon Views list, we have a small blue button where we can add our own custom view. We can also right-click on any of the existing views in the pane and select New from the drop-down. So go ahead and create a new view. Click the blue button for Insert New Ribbon View. Now right-click on your new view and select Rename. Let's call it My View, then click OK to close the pop-up. Click Fuse to view the data. Your new view will be listed in the Ribbon Views pane. You'll also notice that the ribbon and phase analyzers will be blank with no metrics. Metrics will still have to be defined or added. In an earlier lesson, we learned how to add metrics to a view or how to remove them from a view. Here is a recap. We are going to add some metrics to the custom ribbon view that we have just created. Click on the Metrics tab on the left of the workspace and a panel will slide out to the right, displaying a list of all available metrics that can be used. The metric groupings can be expanded or collapsed by clicking on the plus or minus signs. If you expand the folder for Schedule Quality, you will see all of the metrics that have been used to define our Schedule Quality ribbon view. By default, the panel will slide away when you are not using the metrics list. If you want it to remain visible, select the little pin icon in the top right of the metrics pane. So click this pin for now. If you right-click on any of the metrics, you will be given the 4 options for adding the metric. Add to Ribbon Analyzer, Add to Phase Analyzer, Add to Intersection Analyzer, and Add to All Analyzers. Let's add a few metrics randomly. So right-click on the metric for critical and click Add to Ribbon Analyzer. Then click Fuse. Note that each time you add or delete a metric from a view, you need to click the Fuse button. Now right-click Negative Float and click Add to Phase Analyzer. Then click Fuse. So now we have 2 different metrics in the ribbon and phase analyzers. For our third metric, right-click on Number of Lags and then click Add to Intersection Analyzer. Click Fuse to view it. Now, if you right-click any of these metrics in the metrics pane, you will see that some of the options have been grayed out where they have already been added to an analyzer. Now let's delete these metrics that we just added. So right-click on the heading for critical and click Remove. Right-click on the heading for negative float and click Remove. Lastly, click on the heading for the intersection metric, number of lags, and click the little X to delete it. Now I'd like to show you a simple trick for quickly adding a metric to all analyzers except, say, the intersection analyzer. Let's right-click on missing logic in the metrics pane and click Add to all analyzers, then click Fuse. Now we've decided that we don't want this metric in the intersection analysis, so we would simply delete it. Click Delete Missing Logic from the intersection analyzer, and there we have our desired result. Now delete missing logic from the ribbon and phase analyzers. We can also add a complete metric folder to our views. For example, in the metrics pane, right-click on the schedule quality group. We have three options: Add to ribbon analyzer, Add to phase analyzer, and Add to ribbon and phase analyzers. However, note that we do not have the option of adding the folder to the intersection analyzer, because only one metric at a time can be added to the intersection analyzer. Right-click and select Add to Ribbon Analyzer, then click Fuse. There we have all of our schedule quality metrics in the Ribbon Analyzer pane. But you'll see that we don't have a metric score showing. This metric has to be added separately for the metrics list. So scroll to the bottom of the metrics list and expand the group for Deltek Acumen Fuse. There you will find the metric for score. Right-click on the score metric and add it to the ribbon analyzer. Then click Fuse. Now we could remove these metrics individually, but let's just go ahead and delete our ribbon view for my view. So in the bottom ribbon views window, click on the red cross to delete my view. Click Yes in the pop-up to delete the view. Next, unpin the metrics pane by clicking the little pin. Lastly, click back onto our default schedule quality view to make it active. Let's run through two exercises. Firstly, we'll add metrics to a current view. Click the Fuse icon in the top left of the workspace. From the list of recent workbooks, select My Workbook. You may receive a pop-up asking if you want to save the current workbook. Just click No. Select the S2 Diagnostics tab and click Fuse to analyze the workbook. Now we're going to add metrics to the default schedule quality view for the current schedule. So click the current schedule header and double-click it to isolate it. Next, let's ribbonize by WBS to level 2. So select the Fields drop-down and choose Selected Field General WBS Name. Again, from the Fields drop-down, select Delimiter with number of levels equal to 2. Make sure you also show Hierarchy, otherwise you will not see the WBS levels. Click Fuse to display the ribbons. The ribbons will be displayed in alphabetical order. Now click on the Metrics tab on the left of the workspace and pin it into place. We want to add Schedule Overrun to all analyzers. It's in the Durations group. So expand the Advanced group, then expand the Durations group in the Metrics pane. Then right-click on the metric for Schedule Overrun and select the option to add to all analyzers. The Schedule Overrun metric will appear in all analyzers, including the intersection analyzer. Then click Fuse. Now we want to find which phases and ribbons have a schedule overrun. Firstly, look at schedule overrun in the phase analyzer. You'll see that the phases 2010, 2011, and 2012 have a schedule overrun. But which ribbons are affected? In the ribbon analyzer, scroll down until you come to your first schedule overrun. In fact, only the procurement ribbon has a schedule overrun. If you click on the cell for Schedule Overrun in the Ribbon Analyzer, you'll see that the activity for outsourced PMO is displayed in both the Activity Browser and the Procurement ribbon. Back to the Phase Analyzer now. Click on each of the cells for Schedule Overrun and you'll see that the activity for outsourced PMO has a schedule overrun in all of the identified phases. Next, let's add another metric to the Phase Analyzer only. Look at your Open Metrics pane. Still in the Advanced group, expand the Baseline Compliance group. Right-click on Finish Compliance and add it to the Phase Analyzer. Then click Fuse to view the data. Now we're going to plot a graph of finished compliance in the Phase Analyzer. So from the Phases Charts pull-down, select Line for the graph type, then click the Charts button. In the Phase Charts pane, make sure that only Finished Compliance is selected. You'll see the data displayed for all the phases. Now, 2010 has a finished compliance of 94%. So zoom in on 2010, clicking the magnifier in the phase header. Now you'll see the finished compliance for all the phases in 2010. So what is the finished compliance for all of the quarters in 2010? Answer: Quarter 1, 100%. Quarter 2, 50%. Quarter 3, 75%. And Quarter 4, 100%. In the top menu, deselect the Charts button. Then reset the phases dates by clicking the button to reset dates. Then click Fuse. Unpin the Metrics pane to close it. Then click on the Home icon to reset the ribbons. Next, click on the Projects button to reset the Projects ribbons. You can click Fuse again if you wish. Next, we want to look at a different exercise, so let's just close this workbook and make sure that you don't save it. For this exercise, we're going to create a custom ribbon view called New View. Click the Fuse icon on the top left of the workspace. From the list of recent workbooks, select My Workbook. Select the S2 Diagnostics tab and click Fuse to analyze the workbook. In the bottom Ribbon Views pane, right-click on any of the existing views and select New. Right-click on the new ribbon view and select Rename. Type in New View and click OK, then click Fuse. Now we have a blank ribbon view. Click the Metrics tab on the left and pin it into place. Firstly, we're going to add the whole lags metric group to both the Ribbon Analyzer and Phase Analyzer. It is in the Advanced group. So expand the Advanced group, then right-click on the lags group metric and add it to the Ribbon and Phase Analyzers. Then click Fuse. You'll now see the lags metric data in both analyzers. Unpin the Metrics pane to close it. Now let's isolate the current schedule by double-clicking on its header. Click Fuse if necessary. Next, we're going to ribbonize by resources. So in the Ribbons menu, click the Resources button. Then click Fuse to view the data. So, which resource has the highest number of lags? The answer: Design Team with 13 lags. Next, which resource has 0 lags? The answer: PMO. Lastly, which phase has the highest number of lags? The answer: Phase 2012. We don't need to save our workbook, so simply select the Acumen Fuse icon at the top left and click Close. Do not save the workbook. In the next lesson, we will go through the steps for performing a logic analysis.